The White House Rose Garden is bathed in sharp sunlight at exactly 11:00 a.m. on January 15th, 2026. Temperatures hover near 38 degrees Fahrenheit, creating the perfect crisp atmosphere for the events about to unfold. It is the sort of Washington winter day where the air feels distinct and everything seems focused and tangible. President Donald Trump takes his place at the podium, the presidential seal shining brightly in the cold light. He wears a perfectly fitted blue suit and a red tie that screams authority, signaling that he is firmly in command. An American flag pin sits slightly askew on his lapel, but he is too occupied with victory to notice such trifles. He wears that familiar confident grin, the expression that implies he holds a secret and has intimidated rivals for decades. Behind him stands the West Wing with its classical white columns representing the ultimate symbol of executive power. Dozens of cameras surround the area, far more than usual, with every major network crew present and ready. CNN has deployed 3 teams, Fox News has sent 5, and even international outlets like Al Jazeera are on site. Every correspondent received the urgent notification 90 minutes ago on official stationery regarding a major fraud investigation announcement. The final line of the message stunned everyone because it stated that Representative Ilhan Omar would be in attendance. Omar stands quietly to the left of the stage, roughly 15 feet away from where the president is speaking. She is close enough to be captured in the frame, and close enough to endure the coming humiliation. The Democrat from Minnesota stands as a progressive icon and the first Somali American elected to Congress. She is dressed in a navy hijab and dark pantsuit, attempting to project strength but failing to hide her anxiety. Her hands are clasped tightly together, her knuckles turning pale from the pressure of her grip. She was told this would be a bipartisan display of concern regarding federal fraud allegations. She expects to stand there, look worried, and perhaps give a statement defending her community against attacks. She anticipates a standard political event where she can call for fairness and get sound bites for social media. She has absolutely no concept of the storm that is about to break over her head. Over 80 reporters sit in neat rows, with all the famous anchors and political bloggers prepared. Notepads are open, and red recording lights are glowing as the event broadcasts live to millions. Trump leans into the microphone and lowers it slightly, adjusting it with that practiced showman's pause. He knows exactly how to manipulate the lens and let the suspense build before he utters a word. He thanks everyone for coming, his voice projecting clearly with that unmistakable New York cadence. He comments on the beautiful cold weather, noting that the clarity of the air allows one to see for miles. Today is about clarity, truth, and facts. And he scans the crowd to make eye contact with the press. He nods toward the Fox News team with a smirk. Then his expression hardens as he looks at CNN. He announces Operation Clean Plate, a massive multi-agency investigation into historic levels of welfare fraud. He describes theft from child nutrition programs in Minnesota that has been happening right under everyone's noses. The stolen amount is $1 billion, perhaps even $2 billion, taken from hungry kids and taxpayers. He emphasizes the word billion, letting the magnitude of the theft sink in for the viewing audience. The cameras zoom in on his serious face, showing the demeanor of the commander-in-chief, rather than a campaigner. He gestures toward Congresswoman Omar, and she manages a forced and uncomfortable smile for the cameras. The lenses capture every micro-expression as he mentions that the fraud occurred in her district. He details how criminals set up fake food sites and bought luxury cars while children went hungry. Trump's voice grows harder as he states that she sponsored the legislation which enabled this crime. He claims her bill removed safeguards and weakened oversight, making it easy to steal federal funds. Omar's smile vanishes instantly, and her lawyer behind her stiffens as he realizes this is a trap. This was not the standard protocol they discussed, but something entirely different is unfolding. Trump decides to ask her questions before the official statements, claiming the media protects her too much. He looks directly at the press corps, calling out their bias and refusal to ask the hard questions. Omar tries to keep her face neutral, but her fear is visible as her lawyer signals her not to engage. It is too late to leave, as she is already on stage in the Rose Garden with the world watching. Trump thanks her for being brave enough to show up, instead of staying in her office on Capitol Hill. He proposes a real conversation about the fraud, her campaign officials, and her unexplained wealth. He pulls out a thick folder organized with 6 colored tabs, looking like a lawyer ready for cross-examination. Reporters whisper in shock, wondering if this is actually happening, while producers confirm they cannot cut away. Trump taps the folder and asserts his authority as president to ask questions in the people's house. He promises she will have a chance to defend herself after she answers his questions honestly. He claims to be a fair person despite what people say, then instructs her that he asks questions first. He demands to know if she knew her bill would enable the largest fraud in American history. He asks for a simple yes or no answer regarding her knowledge of the bill's flaws. The Rose Garden erupts in shock as the president interrogates a sitting congresswoman on live television. CNN correspondents gasp audibly, while the Fox News team barely contains their excitement at the spectacle. MSNBC staff look stricken as they watch their icon being politically executed with nowhere to hide. Omar clenches her jaw, fighting to control the anger and panic rising within her. She attempts to respond by blaming bad actors and criminals, keeping her voice tight and controlled. Trump interrupts firmly, using the commanding voice of a man who has run billion-dollar businesses. He rejects her deflection and demands she answer whether she knew the bill was flawed. He offers her 2 choices, stating either she was incompetent for writing a bad bill or she was complicit. He notes her refusal to answer directly means she is admitting she did not know the bill was dangerous. He mocks her incompetence before moving to the blue tab in his folder to address the specific fraud. He brings up her campaign official, a man named Gwad Hashi, showing photos of them together. He reveals that Gwad has pleaded guilty to stealing over $3 million using fake food sites. Gwad claimed to feed thousands of children who did not exist and spent the money on luxury goods. Trump stares at her with piercing intensity and asks if she knew her friend was stealing from kids. The cameras zoom in as the color drains from Omar's face, revealing her realization of the danger. This is no longer just about policy, but about her personal corruption and potential career-ending crimes. Her voice shakes as she tries to pivot to proper procedure, but Trump interrupts with cheerful aggression. He agrees that procedure is why they are there, with millions of people watching this historic moment. He asks again if she knew her campaign official was stealing millions of dollars from children. Silence hangs in the air for 20 agonizing seconds, broken only by the clicking of camera shutters. She cannot answer because admitting knowledge destroys her, and denying it proves her incompetence. Trump moves on, noting that his team of forensic accountants has been working around the clock. They have found shocking things about her money and how she went from broke to a multimillionaire. He spreads the folder open, revealing the colored tabs representing 6 separate scandals ready for exposure. The MSNBC producer panics in the background, realizing there is no precedent for this kind of event. Trump states that after the evidence is shown, the American people can decide if she is a victim or a criminal. Omar looks at her lawyer in desperation, but he shakes his head, knowing there is nothing he can do. Trump shifts his tone to that of a prosecutor, stating that numbers never lie, even if politicians do. He holds up her 2023 financial disclosure form, which lists her net worth as less than $250,000. He then displays the 2025 or form, showing her net worth has jumped to between $6 and $30 million. He lets the discrepancy hang in the air, questioning how a congresswoman made that much in 1 year. He asks if she lied when she told a magazine she was not a millionaire, or if she lied on the form. She murmurs about her husband's businesses, but Trump immediately pivots to dissect those specific entities. He cites a winery in California that jumped 100 times in value despite being a failing business. He mentions investors are suing for fraud, yet her disclosure form claims the business is worth millions. He demands she explain how a failing winery became a gold mine on paper, but she remains silent. He moves to her husband's venture capital firm, revealing court documents showing it had $42 in the bank. On her disclosure form, however, this same company is listed as being worth up to $25 million. He questions how $42 becomes $25 million without massive fraud or illegal injections of cash. He suggests she hid dirty money in these businesses to disguise bribes or theft from her district. A graphic on Fox News highlights the impossible numbers, while the MSNBC team looks physically ill. Trump closes the red tab and announces they are only halfway through the list of 6 scandals. He brings up the payments to her husband, Tim Minot, made while they were having an affair. He shows campaign finance records proving she paid his consulting firm nearly $3 million. He reads from the divorce petition of Minot's wife, which names Omar as the cause of the marriage ending. He points out the suspicious timing of payments that look less like consulting fees and more like hush money. He asks if she paid him millions to keep him quiet about the affair during the campaign. Omar tries to defend the payments as legitimate services, but Trump demands a simple yes or no. He notes that she married the consultant shortly after the payments stopped and his business value skyrocketed. He calls it money laundering and corruption before moving on to the marriage fraud allegations. He presents records suggesting she married her own brother for immigration purposes and committed tax fraud. He brings up the marriage to Ahmed Elmi and the tax returns filed jointly with another man. He mentions her refusal to take a DNA test to prove Elmi is not her brother. He shifts to her visit to Columbia University and her history of anti-Semitic comments regarding Israel. He accuses her of calling Jewish students pro-genocide and voting against the Iron Dome defense system. He asks if Israel has a right to exist, and her silence speaks volumes to the audience. He quotes her speech where she called Somalia her home and claimed to represent Somali interests first. He reveals a Treasury investigation into whether fraud money from her district went to terrorists. He warns that if money reached al-Shabaab, she is facing charges of treason and terrorism financing. The press conference ends with the media reeling and Democratic leadership abandoning her by sunset. Federal investigations are announced immediately involving the Justice Department and the IRS. In Minneapolis, a teacher stands outside a school lamenting the money stolen from children like her student. A local imam speaks out, grateful that the corruption has been exposed to protect the community's reputation. 2 weeks later, Omar announces she will not seek re-election, effectively ending her political career. Trump holds a follow-up briefing to declare that justice has been served and the swamp is being drained. The narrative concludes by stating that Trump dismantled her defenses in 73 minutes of live television. If this outcome brings satisfaction to those weary of corrupt politicians hiding behind identity, They should express their approval. People are encouraged to share this account so others can witness how evidence dismantled a career. Viewers are asked to comment on which other political figures require this same level of intense scrutiny. The audience should subscribe to see more justice served as the swamp is drained one step at a time. This story matters because it shows that even the most protected figures can eventually face the truth.